This lesson has a couple theorems on tangents and how to use them. The first theorem says that a tangent is a line that just touches the circle in one point. If you draw a radius to the point of tangency, which is what it's called when that line touches that circle, that point is called the point of tangency. The radius drawn to the point of tangency is always a right angle. And you want to look for things like that because, they'll use right triangles a lot with that. So anytime you see a tangent and a radius drawn to it, make sure you remember that that's a right angle and think Pythagorean theorem if you see a triangle. The other theorem says that if two tangents are drawn to a circle from a certain point, that those two tangents between the point of tangency and that point where they intersect are equal. So this is equal to this. CA is equal to CB. So let's use those two tangents in a couple problems. Notice I have a tangent and a point of tangency, and another tangent and another point of tangency. That makes these two segments equal. So in order to find out what x is, I am going to set those two equal to each other because my theorem tells me that they're equal. So I minus x from both sides, and I minus 5 from both sides. That's 0, that's 0. So 3x minus x is 2x. 17 minus 5 is 12. If I divide both sides by 2, I get x equals 6. So in this one, x equals 6. And if you plug 6 back in to both of those, 3 times 6 is 18, plus 5, 23, and if you put a 6 in there, you also get 23. So here's my next example. Notice this is a radius, this is a tangent. My theorem says that when a radius is drawn to the point of tangency, it makes a right angle. Notice then the triangle. So we want to use our Pythagorean theorem, which says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a we're going to call x. So x squared plus this side squared, which is 8 squared, is going to equal this side squared. So I don't know what x is, so I know it has to be x plus 4 for that whole side, not 4x. A lot of people get confused at that. X plus 4 squared. So x squared plus 64, and on this side I'm going to have to use FOIL. So I've got two of them. Squared means times itself. Some people forget that too. So x times x is x squared. Then I have a 4x and another 4x and a 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Well, notice that I have x squared on both sides. If I only had one, then I'd know it was quadratic. But if I subtract x squared from both sides, they cancel. So I know I have a linear equation, and I'm going to move that 16 over. So that's 48 equals 4x plus 4x is 8x. And if I divide both sides by 8, 48 divided by 8 is 6. Then I can come back here and say, okay, if that was 6 and this was 6, then that whole thing would be 10. Does 36, which is 6 squared, plus 64, which is 8 squared, equal 10 squared, which is 100? And yes, it does. 100 equals 100. So that was my check. And that is the lesson on tangents.